This is a tutorial on how to beat Germany Act 1. Now I know what you're thinking. Infantry only? I know. It's painful, but I'm here to help you. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, this is the way you want to do this. You want to go first mission, second mission, exactly how I show you in the map. Go south and just keep going on south and I'll walk you through every single one. So in the battle, we got 3 Stukas, light tanks in the back and front with infantry support and armored cars. Infantry in the woods with light tanks and a panzer force in the back with infantry around it. In case I forget to mention, always use 3 to 4 artillery guns in every battle. They are going to be your saving grace in this campaign. And while we sit here and watch the battle unfold, I'm going to give you guys a few more tips. First thing you want to do with your artillery, never put it under a tree. Always spread it out. Always make sure they have a little bit of room apart from each other. Make sure you're using the first level artillery. Make sure they're pretty close to the battle. This battle's in the bag, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want it to go quicker, I recommend taking control of one of your tanks, rushing to the artillery exactly like this, rushing directly towards the artillery because that is the only thing that can threaten you in the first battle of the Germany campaign. There's your first victory. This game is randomized. You never know where the units are going to go, but generally speaking, that should win you the battle. Now for your first tech point, get a sniper. It'll help you later on in the campaign. Another thing I recommend is getting an AA gun. So this is how I did this mission. 1, 2, 3 Stuka dive bombers, and just spam a lot of 38s, a lot of light tanks like this. Put yourself an AA gun here because you'll have an infantry spawn over here. Make sure you have 4 or more recovery vehicles. A few bits of riflemen throughout the town don't hurt. Need a couple lights down here. Just spread out your lights. Make sure they're in a good pattern. We're going to start the battle here. So that if the tanks are looking like this, the Polish are going to have a nice defense here. But generally speaking, your tanks outrange the Polish tanks, so they're going to be in full retreat. The only thing you want to worry about is this infantry spam, but your dive bombers and your brand new AA flak should be able to handle it. See how those bombers just took out that infantry swarm? That should be what your bombers always target. This has happened for me consistently multiple times. And generally speaking, your tanks will wipe out these buildings very quickly. You don't have to touch anything. You can watch, sit back and watch the action. Nice and clean. Now the last wave. Couple tanks here, but at this point you should have such a good sourceful amount of tanks, and you should have a few infantry which you put here earlier, which should be able to help you deal with some of these Polish tanks. As you can see, the infantry not only triggered the kamikaze tanks, but now the Polish have nothing. Be careful with your officers, by the way. I personally would bring them in the battle. You don't have to. If you want to ensure victory and your tanks outrange the Polish, I would. And there you go. That's how you beat mission 2. The next thing I'd recommend getting in your tech tree is artillery. Better artillery. Actually getting a anti-tank gun. You want to upgrade the dive bomber tech as well. I recommend getting to the HE very quickly. I recommend rushing that. So the mission strategy for Lodz is pretty simple. You see this airfield? You want to take that out ASAP. You need a lot of artillery. And like I said last time, make sure you get the higher advanced artillery gun. It fires long range. Don't be afraid to put a few smaller ones so you have more radius, but put them closer to the front. You should have about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 artillery guns at the minimum. More doesn't hurt. And you need a very nice light spread of tanks, some armored cars to rush through here. Don't put too much in the middle. Focus on the left and the right flank. So I'm going to show you from this angle here. Here's your positioning of the armored cars. 3 armored cars. Lights, just spread them out. 2 recovery vehicles on each side. A couple lights in the center. And make sure you have an air force consisting of 2 fighter bombers, 2 Stukas, and 2 fighters to counter the enemy air force. Here we go. So immediately you're going to notice all the tanks are converging on these 2 bunkers that are already out of the game. They've already been wiped out in the first 30 seconds of the battle. The Polish have already lost all of their infantry reserves. The only thing that could possibly threaten you are these anti-tank guns, but your tanks are quick enough to rush over them. You shouldn't even bother having to control it. As I said, there goes their anti-tank guns. They've just been wiped out. So there's your threat for the battle. Now the only other threat you have is chasing the remainder of these Polish tanks down. So I'd recommend it. Might as well take control of your tanks. Do not be afraid to do this. If you feel like you're losing the battle or you feel like you can do something more, don't be afraid to do it. It always helps you. Your tanks should be doing this on their own, but make sure you move this tank. Try to get it to the airfield. If you can take this thing out, you'll win air superiority. You'll have a good time. Make sure your tank is just capturing this thing. Capture it, it can produce your own airplanes. So as you see the German flags going up, you've captured the airfield, and the rest of the Polish tanks are being run down. Your artillery will wipe out the rest of the Polish tanks if your tanks don't make it there first, and the only thing you got to worry about are these dive bombers. Don't worry, because you just captured this airfield. So you're going to start producing fighters that go take out the Polish fighters. And there you go. German planes just wiped out the remainder, and Polish planes. and you have yourself a victory. As I mentioned before, this HE tactical bomber is one of the most broken bombers in the entirety of the game. When you deal with the French, they have heavy fortified positions, and generally speaking, you drop a 1 or 2 or 3 HEs on them, they're wiped out. I wish I knew that this thing existed when I was doing the German campaign, but I didn't. After you complete the final Polish mission to unlock a Panzer II and get down to a Panzer III, you should get a lot of tech points when you beat the first act. Make sure you have a Panzer III when you're meeting the French. Make sure you always have your officers. As I said, the final mission, you're going to need officers. I'm trying to focus mainly on damage here because, again, you want your infantry to beat their infantry. Alright, so the moment you've all been waiting for. How do we beat the final mission? Mainly use riflemen, but do not, and I recommend it, put snipers randomly dispersed in your riflemen. Do not put much in the south here because this is a kill zone. This is an absolute kill zone. The Polish will demolish you down here. But do not be afraid to charge up here because if you look, there isn't much defenses up here. You can generally rush down here and do something like this and do a push. Then you've already encircled the Polish here and you've targeted 3 VIPs. The main area up here you want to deal with, put a couple men in this ridge. Don't be afraid to put snipers. Put some men back here to reinforce those men. I'm going to do a slow pan of the positions here. Put your officers up front here. And do not put infantry back here. Put them all in this woods here. So they'll come out and disperse evenly throughout the battle and slowly wave the enemy down. Alright, so let's start the battle. I'll walk you right through it. Alright, so first off, you're going to see an infantry spread. So your units are going to be pushing. You're seeing how they're wiping out positions here and they have no resistance. That's good. Your infantry up here sometimes gets wiped. Don't be afraid. Now, as I talk over the end of this mission here, mainly what you're going to see me doing is using a infantryman loaded with mainly a grenade launcher or grenade and rushing VIP buildings. The VIPs will always consistently group up in a building. I'll say this mission is very randomized, but the only way you can ensure its victory is to take, and let me say this nice and clear, take unit control, use your grenades, rush the VIP buildings, and like I showed you, you set up your units that way properly with officers. You shouldn't have problem with consistency of doing this, but it's up to you to do this. This is the only mission I've seen in the game thus far where you have to take direct unit control or you will lose. So keep that in mind and you should have no problem. Hope you enjoyed, ladies and gentlemen. I hope I could help you out. Hope that makes the mission more consistent. If there's anything, if you guys have trouble, please leave a comment. I will try to help you. Follow this strategy closely, as close as you can. You should be able to win this mission every time. If you guys like this tutorial, check out my full Germany campaign. You can enjoy my struggles. Don't forget to subscribe.